I got to the end of this process, and the dog and I decided that, this dog, he loved me so much, and he thought that I was literally the greatest person who ever walked the planet. And I just decided that I'm going to be the person who this dog thinks that I am. And so that's what I resolved to do. Plus, give this dog the best time that he'd ever had for the rest of his life. I mean, we went everywhere. I got him on the boat to Alcatraz. I did all this stuff with him, and I just, treated him like he was like my guest. And we went to some really high-end experiences and had, I took him on trains and all kinds of things.
My wife is a dog person. I mean, you and she are probably the people in this world who I know that love dogs the most, and she will take our beagle anywhere. And I mean anywhere. Doesn't matter. She will, and if I'm lying, I'm dying, Eric. She will take little Rudy, put him in a shopping cart, and go through the grocery store. Doesn't care. Doesn't think twice about it. Doesn't, think anything other than, well, this is my child.
Right.
We don't have children of our own except for Rudy. And so that's how she treats him, and it's so funny to me. Like, honestly, sometimes I'll still get a little bit uncomfortable with it because it's like, just, it's not the norm, but for her, it clearly is. I mean, it sounds like you're kind of on that same path there.
Yeah. And so I did a lot of research, and I actually had him go through quite a bit of training, and I got him trained as a service dog. And if anybody's interested, there's an article on my website, ericandpd.com, ERICANDPEETY.com, called Jake's on a Plane, Traveling with Your Dog.
Okay.
So, yeah, it kind of walk you through like all the details you need to know about that if you're interested.
I assume for you it was emotional support, that kind of a
No, it was a
therapy
service dog. I had a traumatic brain injury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's legit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we only have we only have like 15 minutes and we still have so much more to talk about.
Sure.
Eventually you get to running. And so get us there quickly.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I went back to the doctor, Dr. Preety, and I said, well, I've got so much energy. I mean, what do I do now? This walking for half an hour twice a day, I've lost the weight, and here I am. You got any suggestions? And she said, what you need to do is find a form of exercise that you don't hate. And it needs to include a social component so that basically you can do this and then you can have built-in friends and all this. So I talked to a bunch of people and I thought about it, and somebody recommended long-distance running. And because they said, you're going to hate it for the first couple of weeks, but after a couple of weeks, if you just keep at it and you force yourself, a light switch is going to go off and you're going to be running along and you're going to say, hey, I not only don't mind this, I like it, and I want to go further. And that's exactly what happened. So I went on Meetup and a couple other internet sources, and I found some local running clubs in my area, and they're in every area, and anybody can find them like this. And I joined a couple, and I just started going on their scheduled runs, and I was introduced to the glorious trails of Northern California, and I just saw things that I'd never seen before, and I ran along lakes and oceans and mountains and just amazing things, and I had the time of my life. And so I just became a long-distance runner doing that, and I'm currently, I've run about 25 full marathons since then, about 100 half marathons. And so right now I'm running 4 or 5 fulls a year and about 15 halves a year. But right now in the last 3 months, I've run 6 fulls. And I really earlier this year wanted to achieve a lifetime goal. I wanted to qualify for the Boston Marathon. So I figured, how am I going to do that?
This is what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah, because I know that PCRM recently has published a paper that talks about the benefits to vegan athletes of increased endurance and reduced recovery times. And I was very inspired by that, and I wanted to prove it. And so I'm 60 years old, and over the last 2 weeks, I've qualified for the Boston Marathon twice.
Yeah.
And so it was.
What are you gonna run it and then that was fun? Let me go back and start again.
I wanted to make sure that I did it 2 weeks in a row to let other people know that it's not only possible, but it's because your typical thing. I'm also a running coach. I'm adult distance running coach through Roadrunners Club of America.
Okay.
And nobody in their right mind, or most people, would not ever attempt to run races, 2 full marathons back to back 2 weeks in a row. there's a number of people that will do marathons back to back. I'm also a member of a club called Marathon Maniacs, where that's a requirement that you do it. But most people that do it don't race the races. They actually are going to try to do it in 5 to 6 hours and, run, walk it, or, just to cover the distance within the cutoff time of the race. My goal was to physically race the races so that I would achieve a Boston qualifying time for my age group, which is 60 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so I set about to train on that, and I did like a lot of training. And to me, the best training, because I'm a vegan athlete, I am not impacted by the same things that an omnivore athlete is impacted by, and I'm convinced about this. I can run a full marathon this week and run another one next week and try to achieve the same speeds.
Recovery time.
And I can do that because I have a reduced recovery time that's reduced inflammation, and I'm able to bust it out. It's just like after I run a full marathon, I'm not really even sore the next day. Mm-hmm. And how many people can say that if they're being honest as an omnivore athlete? I maybe have a little bit of soreness the next day, but it's gone by the day after. As an example, I ran the Louisiana Marathon on Sunday, and today is Wednesday, and I ran 8 miles to work this morning. And so most people would never consider doing that. They'd still be in a recovery mode. I felt fine, and I actually turned on the gas a little bit and just kind of like lit it up and cruised to work this morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what is the qualifying time for Boston?
The qualifying time for a 60-year-old is 3 hours and 50 minutes.
Okay.
So I ran the Charleston Marathon last Saturday, not this most recent one, but the one before that, the Charleston Marathon. I got a 3:36
Nice.
instead of a 3:50, which I was very pleased with. I slowed down a little bit over this at the Louisiana Marathon because I deviated from my plan a little bit. I tried something different that was probably ill-advised. I underhydrated, and I got pretty severe leg cramps. So I did a 3:45 on Sunday, but that still beat my Boston qualifying time by 5 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now,
and I have a few more races coming up that I'm going to try to achieve the time that I need to time qualify for the New York Marathon, which would be a 3:34. Is
3:36 a personal best for you?
Yes.
Okay. So, but you're not far off. I mean, 3:34 seems. I mean, that's attainable.
Yeah, it is, especially because in Charleston, when I got the 3:36, the reason I didn't get a 3:34 is because they had a freight train cut the course off, and I had to wait about 3-4 minutes for the freight train to go by. It was. I'd never seen anything like it before in my life.
And that counted against your time?
It did because
come on.
No, I'm telling.
Really?
Yeah, they don't have a way to to deduct that from the time. So I'm standing there. Really, let me tell you about this story. I see this freight train coming up on my right, and the last time that I heard about something like this happening once at a marathon in Oregon. And when it happened in Oregon, it was one of these like 1 mile long freight trains like they have in Texas or the Midwest or something that, take 15, 20 minutes to go by. And I thought, all of the preparation, the blood, sweat, and tears, the expense, everything I put into this, I am not going to let that train steal my Boston time today. And so I started sprinting. And what I was planning to do, literally, was dive across the tracks right before the train hit the road, just to get on the other side of it. Now, fortunately, thankfully to the Charleston Police Department, thank you very much, when the arm went down, and right as I sprinted up, because I sprinted about 100 yards to actually beat the train, I was literally going to dive across the tracks. The kind policeman, stepped in front of the gate and looked at me, and like with a "don't even try it" look on his face. And, so I respected that, and I stopped, and I just, was dejected. Fortunately, then I looked back at the train, and it wasn't as long as I thought, and it only took about 3 or 4 minutes to pass.
Still, though, I mean,
I got robbed. Well, I don't want to complain. I mean, I don't want to be a whiner.
It's a heck of a time. I've just
yeah.
never heard of that before.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems as unfair as that non-call in the NFC Championship game. I mean, like you were just talking about the blood, the sweat, and the tears. Think about somebody. I mean, really, that would have put you in New York. I know your goal that day was to qualify for Boston, which you did, but that would have also put you in New York.
I've been trying to get in New York for 7 years now. Here's how New York works. It's a wonderful race. It's a race that everybody wants to do, and it's really hard to get in. And the problem with the New York race is from the amount of, they have several different ways to get in. You can either donate $5,000 or Yeah, or you can time qualify, which is very difficult because it substantially exceeds the Boston Marathon standards to time qualify in, or you could lottery in. So by lotterying into the New York Marathon, you've got about a 15% chance of having your number picked. And I've been trying for 6 or 7 years now, and I've never been picked. So, I've still got like a couple of more chances.
Right.
I've got some more races coming up. I'm running the Rock and Roll Washington D.C. Marathon in March, and then a Maryland Marathon in April.
Is that in Annapolis or Baltimore?
Yeah, it's in Annapolis,
Okay.
right? I forget the name of it, but it's like the B&A Marathon. It's near Annapolis,
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful area down there.
So
like
I'll
that.
continue training, and hopefully I'll hit my 3:30. I'll exceed my 3:34 time for one of those.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
let's certainly hope so, man. Otherwise, we'll start a GoFundMe for you to get together that $5,000. I mean, congratulations. That's really remarkable. The one thing I also wanted to talk to you about before you left is when you were first on the show. After we finished, we just got to talking, and you at that point, it seemed to me like you were ready to make a change somehow in your life. Like you were ready to switch gears and go all in on something that you truly believed in career-wise. And then I was like, man, I'm all for it. And I tried to give you as much encouragement as I could. And then lo and behold, a month later, I get an email. It says, hey, I'm applying for this position. Would you mind speaking to so-and-so and putting in a good word for me? And I was like, he's a man of his word, and I love the fact that he is just going for it, man. And so, like, now I'm overjoyed that you got the position, and your office is literally right behind mine. We can knock on the wall, and say hi to each other.
Yes,
I mean, it's great.
I'm living a fairy tale. I mean, absolutely. And it's all because of a doctor who listened and believed in me and put me on a plant-based diet and walked me by the hand and told me how to do it and helped me until I could walk by myself. And that's why I'm here today and living and working for Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm Director of Development for the Southeast, which means that I'm in fundraising. And anybody who's interested in helping out this fine organization, I'd love to talk to you and help. We can discuss how your philanthropy investment can go a long way towards helping people and animals, because that's what we're about.
Absolutely. There's not a more perfect organization for you, Eric, than the Physicians Committee. I will tell you that.
And I'll agree.
And I know, yeah, and you already are making a difference in the world. I've seen you operate at these large functions that we put on, and I know that you're always traveling and meeting with people, and you're just a remarkable human being who is truly doing in life what he wants to do, and you are to be commended for that. And so for sharing your story and bringing that inspiration to the exam room, I am forever in your debt, good sir.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it.
All right. And now I'm going to go download Babelfish and learn Korean so I can read your book in another language.
Wonderful. I'll get you a copy.
Eric O'Gray, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Thank you so much.